What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another post game here on Mets Central. The Mets win 2-1 over the San Francisco Giants in tonight's ball game, completing the series win. And honestly, I will absolutely take the fact that they won the series. I will absolutely take the fact that they are in a prime position to sweep tomorrow, which now you got to go out and do that, especially with Kodai saying on the mound. And I'm not sure if the Giants announced yet who is starting for them tomorrow, but now this team has put themselves in a spot to go out there and sweep the series, even though there was a lot of things tonight where it's kind of like, you wanted to see more from this offense, but they get the job done and find a way to win the game. Before we jump into everything, I ask that you please leave a like on your way into the post game show. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel, especially if you're Mets fans, and turn on your notifications so you know when we upload or go live on the channel. But man, all I could say is that defense was the difference in this baseball game because on one end, you have Rafael Devers, who can't make a single play over at first base at all. And on the other end, you have Pete Alonso scooping balls in the dirt, jumping to make the game winning catch, which would have tied the game there because that's easily a double into right field. At the very least, a single, but that brings the run in no matter what. That was the difference in tonight's baseball game, where Matt Chapman making a piss poor throw over the first base. Meanwhile, you have Brett Beatty scooping up a garbage throw from Mark Vientos over at third base. That was the difference in your baseball game tonight. And it was nice to see this team play good defense tonight because one of my complaints this year has been they have not looked as crisp in the field as they have in previous seasons, where in previous years, or I should say previous years, I should say compared to last year specifically, where last year this team was so sharp defensively. And, one thing I've been upset about throughout most of the year is they have not looked like the same defensive ball club that they looked like last year. Well, tonight they showed more of what we saw last year on the defensive side. And Lindor, too, like, how could I forget him with that one grab that he made going across to the right side of the infield to dive and make a play? How about that one as well? It was just truly the difference in which team actually decided to pay attention and make the routine plays, make the difficult plays versus the team that couldn't play defense to save their lives. So David Stearns and his run prevention quotes, whatever, he was smiling watching this game tonight. Even though, again, offensively, I would have liked a lot more because they had so many opportunities in this baseball game to win and really open up the game, open the lead. And that's something that did frustrate me because even in the first inning, you get 2 on, which there was 2 outs, but you get a walk from Lindor and you get bailed out there from the fact that it probably could have been a double play. The Soto ball there. Alonso gets on from the error. I'd like to see them jump on that opportunity there. Well, unfortunately, they did not. And in the first inning, the bottom of the first, rather, just prime example of quality defense off the rip. Prime example. In the bottom of the first inning, Devers gets a single. Adames walks. There was 1 out to this point. And then Chapman hits a liner right to Mark Vientos, who makes a great grab, makes a horrible throw, but Brett Beatty scooping up the ball there. And then the second inning, though, the Mets get a triple. Alvarez gets a triple, and you don't score, which frustrated me. Bottom of the second, again, 2 guys on, but another double play. A lot of good defense. Even David Peterson at one point, he comes off the mound and just makes a beautiful play on the ground out there. I think that was the third inning where he makes that. And then Pete Alonso, which is an unbelievable tag there, out of the freaking baseline on the complete other side of where he needed to be. Makes just a beautiful tag there. This series right now, Pete Alonso, I've never seen him play this kind of defense before. And then in the fourth inning, he leads off the inning with a single. Marte gets a double. Beatty gets a single. You got bases loaded with no outs, and they don't score as Mark Vientos strikes out, and Alvarez hits into a double play. That's where I thought they're going to lose this game. They're just not going to score enough to win the game. And Peterson, yet again, he lets two guys on. I'm like, why does he have to do this every single inning? And he ends up walking a batter, so he got bases loaded with one out. Then the force out from Young-Hoo Lee brings in a run, which made it a 1-0 game at that point. And in the fifth inning, Peterson again putting two guys on, just not having any command at all, which was unfortunate because it did cut his outing a little bit short. But in the sixth inning, the Mets offense finally gets on the board. Juan Soto ends up drawing a leadoff walk, steals a bag, his 14th stolen bag of the year. Starry Marte would walk as well. Brett Beatty grounds out Mark Vientos with a clutch double to make it 2-1. Will he be a Met? I don't know. But if he's going to be a Met beyond the trade deadline, we need more of that. We need you to hit like you did there in that scenario, a hanging slider that you should be hitting. And then Ryan Walker comes in, walks Alvarez and Taylor. You get the top of the order coming up, feeling like, okay, maybe Brandon Nimmo watches 3 fastballs right in the zone for some reason, which I don't understand that. Brandon Nimmo had a lot of ugly at bats tonight. Unfortunately, that's definitely one of the negatives. I'm not going to ridicule him because he's been the most consistent player for this offense as of lately, but it was definitely frustrating to watch nonetheless. Then again, the defense continues, though. I mean, Brandon Nimmo, you got to give him credit, though, in the bottom of the sixth, making that throw over the second base as Flores tries to extend his single into a double, and you getting out there. The eighth inning, Marte gives you a leadoff double. You think maybe you could add to the lead. You don't. And then the ninth inning, Edwin Diaz gave us a little bit of a heart attack there, which he was only throwing sliders to start. Young-Hoo Lee gets a hold of one, hits a double, which I thought for sure was gone off the bat. Yastrzemski ends up striking out, and then Patrick Bailey hits that line out right to Pete Alonso, or I shouldn't say right to him. Pete Alonso jumps up and makes an unreal grab. But yeah, good defense won them this game. It's just that simple. And David Peterson did not have great control. By the way, the Young-Hoo Lee ball literally was only not because Keith said it on the broadcast, and I wanted to see now. He said, I bet that would not be a home run or that would be a home run rather at every ballpark but here. And he was correct about that. Every ballpark that Young-Hoo Lee hit there, or yeah, that double there would be a home run, but Oracle Park. So thank goodness for that. But all I could say is that, again, the defense saved this team's ass completely. Would have liked for them to hit more, especially because they had Robbie Ray in multiple spots. They had him on the ropes, and it's just unfortunate that they couldn't, capitalize a little bit more to give them a little bit more of a cushion. But at the end of the day, you win the game different ways, huh? That's just how it is. But all I know is that, Starling Marte, good game for him. He had 2 doubles, had a walk tonight, and I'm so glad that he was not hitting higher in the lineup. I'm glad that he wasn't leading off because the thing that Carlos Mendoza has done, I'm scared he's going to change it now that Nimmo went 0-4 and Marte went 2 for 3. Do not change it, but I like that Mendoza left Nimmo in the leadoff spot, let Marte hit 5th because it really lengthens the lineup so much more, in my opinion. Please just keep it this way when there's a lefty on the mound. It does not have to be any other way. I beg. I beg. But all I know is that Marte had a good game. Vientos again, just a clutch hit there. You got some good at bats from Lindor again. It looks like he's building on what he started to end that Angel series. Really, the only weak link still in this lineup consistently is Tyrone Taylor, and he's not going to be starting beyond the trade deadline, I hope. Just 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Oof, not good. Not good there at all. I mean, 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. You're just not going to win baseball games often that way. They got one tonight. You got to be better offensively, though, than that. That's all I could say. David Peterson definitely has to be better than he was tonight as well. He gave 6 innings, which was nice. And, that's something you could take as a positive, is you still got some good volume from him despite him not having his best stuff. He just walked too many batters, left too much over the plate at points. He needs to be better. He will be better. I'm not worried on that front, but just not a sharp outing, unfortunately, from him tonight. But the bullpen was nails outside of, Diaz giving us a scare. But Garrett, he looked sharp. Ryan Stanek giving you a scoreless inning in a close game is not something we are accustomed to. So I was very appreciative as of that for that as well. But yeah, I mean, the Yankees aren't giving you any help right now. So you got to keep winning these baseball games, keep that division lead. And you got teams like the Dodgers and the Brewers and the Cubs all tied at 61 wins with you right now. Got to keep on winning. I want that buy. Want that buy. Well, let me see what you guys are saying in the chat right now. Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on tonight's baseball game. Let's see. Game of inches. Literally, Pete might be MVP of the series just because of his glove alone. I would say 1,000,000% he is. Yeah, 1,000,000%. He has been unbelievable with the glove this series because he bailed them out so much in last night's game too. Yes, hopefully, Vientos or luckily Vientos got that double there. The only thing that I really was upset about in terms of like, or I shouldn't say upset, more just like questioned in the moment why Jeff McNeil didn't pinch hit for Acuna in that one spot. That was a little bit of a head scratcher, but outside of that, I thought Mendoza did a good job tonight, managing the baseball game. Like I said, with the starting lineup, and then on top of that, not pushing Peterson too much because I didn't want him to go back out there for the seventh inning. I thought, okay, let it be what it is. It's a one-run game. You don't have a lot of leeway here. Just let the bullpen come in and try to lock this one down. And you got 6 innings. That's better than what you're getting from most starts. So I was definitely pleased with that. And yeah, you could say that him sending Stanek out there to face Adames, Chapman, and Flores, but he got through it. But honestly, that's beating a dead horse as well at this point, where it's like we've been talking about all year how we want to see Diaz face the better part of a team's lineup, and then let Stanek or now Rayleigh or maybe Gregory Soto once he's getting into a ball game. See those guys get those parts of the order. But unfortunately, that's just been the way it is. And honestly, it wasn't the worst thing that Diaz ended up facing Young-Hoo Lee when it was all said and done, because Young-Hoo Lee did have 2 hits to that point. And I mean, if he got a hold of Edwin Diaz hanging a slider there, I don't know what he would have done to Ryan Stanek leaving a pitch down the middle. So it's the only thing I could really take away here from that. Need the Yankees to win versus the Phils, yep, and then they fortunately have not. Fortunately, they are letting us down. Hopefully, they could salvage at least one game out of it, and the Mets complete the sweep tomorrow. That's all we could hope for at this rate. They shredded a continent indeed. A continent and a half, 2 continents, all continents. It was yeah, it was just honestly pathetic to watch, truthfully. Truthfully, it was pathetic to watch. But at the same time, I mean, this is why you got to go get bats at the deadline. Furthermore proof of why you need to go get offensive help. And again, I don't think they're going to go out there and acquire more than a center fielder. And I don't agree with it. I think you need to acquire more than just a center fielder come the trade deadline. But I don't know. Like, to me, you got to add a bat that could play in the infield or DH for you and a center fielder. because or like a corner outfielder DH type players, maybe. Whatever it is. Either a DH slash either a DH or infielder, and then definitely a center fielder. But you gotta add multiple bats to this lineup. I mean, tonight again, just like more proof. And I know what Stern's gonna say about how, well, these guys are getting the hits. They're fine. They just got to break through with runners in scoring position. And it's like, when are they breaking through? We're about to hit August, and same issue is still here of runners in scoring position. And I hate that I have to bring it up every single post game, pretty much, but it's like this is something that matters. You know, this is something that hurt them in October last year, and I just don't want to see it hurt them again in October this year. Because last year, who knows if they get a big hit in one of those games versus the Dodgers, where yes, they did get the doors blown off them in pretty much every single win the Dodgers had, but game 4 specifically, I mean, there were like countless opportunities where they had bases loaded and stuff, and maybe the outcome of one of those games changes, game 3 or 4, and I just don't want the same thing to happen again. And that's why you gotta improve in multiple areas. To me, like Acuna, just this is a guy you can't have on the roster in October. Like that, he is not even a thought to me in October. That's just my thought there. Luis Robert can hit lefty pitch, and just saying, I don't know, man. I worry about bringing in Robert. Like I've tried to warm up to the idea because of what you're saying with the lefty numbers, and he's been having a good July, to be truthful with you. And there's this part of me that's trying to warm up to it because of that, but I'm still just having such a hard time, really feeling good about it, just because you are banking like the problem is right now is that you're already banking on your own offense that you have to begin with stepping up and bouncing back, like guys like Vientos, you know, Alvarez. I shouldn't say bouncing back for Alvarez, but being better than at a consistent rate than what he was. Like you're already banking on so many of these guys being better than they have been, and then just producing with runners in scoring position. I just worry about bringing in another guy where you're banking on him turning things around. And that's where my argument would be, okay, if you bring in Robert and another bat, that I could get behind. Like I'm cool with Robert coming here if they go out there and acquire another offensive piece at the trade deadline. My problem is I don't love the idea still of acquiring Robert by himself as the only offensive acquisition. That's where I can't get behind that and rationalize it, even though he has been good against lefties this year. And it would be, great to have that type of guy that can mash lefties. But at the same time, it's like, what are you going to do on the days a righties out there? What are you going to do? Like, Tyrone Taylor's going to play center field? I mean, if there is a world where David Stearns is open to DFAing Tyrone Taylor, and he could go out there and acquire. This is a pipe dream. I don't think this is going to happen. I'm just spitballing an idea here. But if there was a world where your trade deadline is, and your two bats that you get are, because the debate's been Mullins or Robert, and a little bit of Bader, which I don't want Harrison Bader back on this team. Again, nothing against him personally. I don't want him back on this team. If you could bring in both Mullins and Robert somehow, which again, it's not likely. I'm saying that this is not happening, but in the just small chance you can make it happen. In the world, it's possible. That's something you could sell me on as two bats to have those guys platoon. The thing that does worry me is Mullins is someone that, just looking at his splits right now, he's been better against lefties too. So maybe that wouldn't work either. I might have shot down my own point as I'm going through it. I mean, is Harrison Bader doing well against righties? Because, like, that's the thing to me. You need someone that's going to do well against righties then at that point. Bader's not doing bad against righties. Better against lefties, but I don't know. Unless they just view McNeil as that piece where it's like, okay, McNeil will play center field when a righty's out there and Robert's our guy against lefties. Maybe that's what their thought process is, which would make some sense. But I don't know. Again, to me, like, I want another bat then at that point because I'm greedy that way as well. But that could be the thought process there. Just as I'm spitballing here while, doing research at the same time on this one, which is never good. Never good to have unprepared uh podcasting work. Yeah, I don't understand either how Acuna freaking had the start that he did last year, which is part of why when the offseason came, I had no issue if they wanted to move Acuna. Like, listen, what he did at the end of last year was awesome and picked up what Lindor left behind. And it was just unbelievable, to be honest with you. How many times that happened throughout the season last year where the Mets really got fortunate in that regard where guys were picking each other up, whether it's an injury or whatever, like Tyrone Taylor just picking up when Harrison Bader started to slump. I digress. But that's why when the offseason came around, I didn't have any issue if they wanted to move Acuna and go and try to acquire like more of an everyday kind of player for this baseball team, whether it's pitcher, whether it's a someone for the lineup. I had no issue with that because of that. I was like, is he going to replicate what he did in those 2 weeks? Probably not. Did I expect this bad? No. No, I did not. But I thought selling high on him was, not the worst idea. And a trade for a center fielder, I'd start with Acuna and a top 20 prospect and go from there. That might get it done depending on who it is. I really wonder what the Robert situation is and what the asking price is because it seems like the Phillies are involved as well. I don't know if that's a smokescreen to get the Mets to up their offer or if the Mets are linked to get the Phillies to up their offer. I don't know what that's about. Platoon of Robert and McNeil in center, add Lau for second base, and have Beatty at third. That would be beautiful. Now you're talking. Now you're talking to me. You know what you're doing there. Everyone knows if you've been watching the channel long enough, you would know that I was obnoxiously begging for Brandon Lau at the deadline last year. He didn't end up getting moved to a team at all. But I mean, you get Brandon Lau in this lineup, and I could tell you right now, if you need someone that hits righties, Brandon Lau's your guy. So I guess what now I'm trying to like run through the gymnastics in my head of like what their line like hypothetically if they acquired Robert and Lau, what the lineup would look like depending on if a lefty or righty was on the mound because you probably wouldn't want Robert. I mean, you definitely wouldn't want Robert hitting against righties, and you probably wouldn't want Lau hitting against lefties. So I guess when a righty's on the mound, you put McNeil out in center field. Lau plays second, Beatty plays third, and then when there's a lefty on the mound, rather, you get Robert out there in center. Beatty plays second, or McNeil plays second, and then Mauricio plays third. Maybe that's what you do. Now I'm like trying to run through the gymnastics there, and I would love to. I mean, I would not mind if the Mets inquired about Yandy Diaz either with Tampa Bay, because Yandy's someone that would hit well against both righties and lefties. So I wouldn't mind that either, to have a little DH action there. But I feel like they're only going to be in on Yandy Diaz if they move Marte. Like I don't think Yandy Diaz is coming here unless Marte moves, which as of tonight, I mean I don't know. It's tonight, like tonight, they might be thinking twice about it, which I don't agree with, but that you guys know my stance there. But I mean, yeah, there's just like so many different avenues they could go down come this trade deadline. I just really hope they get aggressive in that regard. And the fact that you have more names like, Lau and Diaz emerging, that definitely makes things very, very interesting for the trade deadline, because it just opens up more opportunity. And then Yandy Diaz too. He hasn't played third in a bit, but he is an option at third base if you wanted to try him there. I don't know how good he'll be. I'd have to like look at what he was doing at third base last time he played there, and even have to find it. But I do know he has played some third base in the past, which again, probably a reason he's not playing third base anymore. Which, yeah, I mean, his defense none of the years looked good, so you probably want to stay away from that. But I'd love Yandy Diaz on this team. Would love, yeah, they'd assemble a Soto and Diaz Infinity Gauntlet. Honestly, Yandy Diaz would be one of my favorite options at this rate come the trade deadline. Because that's a guy that I was talking about in the offseason where, if you did lose Pete Alonso, you got to go out and trade for this guy. Now you have both of them in the lineup. Hopefully, Stearns was just keeping his cards to his chest and waiting for guys to be available on the market like Lau and Yandy Diaz, which is entirely possible to begin with because no one's really been available. I mean, the only bat that has moved thus far, well, now there's been a few. I forgot who got moved today, but outside of Ahmed Rosario, but um, and then McMahon, of course, but like Naylor, McMahon. But the point is, like, because there was a report earlier too. I forgot who put it out. It might have been Puma or DeComo. I could be wrong, or maybe even Martino. I don't know. One of those three, probably. But there was a report put out earlier that they are uh the Mets are waiting to see, who might fall out and become sellers over the next few days, because these next few days could really determine it. Grishik, thank you. That was the other name I was thinking of, Grishik. They might wait and see who else becomes available, which, you know, if yeah, Grishik to KC, which it's so weird that that team's buying that. That to me is just sure, sure, like that. That's all I could say to that. Sure. But either way, yeah, I mean, if he's waiting to see who's available or what teams might sell, then good on him if it works out. But all I know is that if he could acquire Yohandy Diaz or Brandon Lau and a Robert, then we're talking. Then we are talking. But either way, it's late at night here, so I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live, and I'll see you guys in the next one.